Good morning, everybody. So I bought another house, and in this video I'm going to tell you why I'm buying real estate in 2023, my thought process, where I think people are going wrong, because I told you I'd put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, my thought process, not spewing some data on the internet like I see so many people doing. I want to tell you why I've been finding deals, how I'm finding deals, and what I think the market is about to do. We got a lot of things coming up. We got the presidential election coming like next year. Well, you know, they're going to be on the campaign trail. We got interest rates going up. We got a lot of things going on, and every part of the country is different. And that's really where I want to go with this. So let's jump right into this, okay? All right, so you have followed me on this channel for years, buying property, selling property, talking about the Gulf Coast, doing real estate agent stuff, doing deals. I think you can go to this channel and find out if I know what I'm talking about, because I've done these deals. My money has gone where my mouth has been. So my thought process right now is, the market has done some really weird things. We saw the interest rates go up in this government-induced way of slowing down the real estate market, slowing down, making money expensive to get. We saw here on the Gulf Coast, we saw an insurance crisis. And if you're not tracking that, it is really hard to get a lot of properties insured here on the Gulf Coast. We have hurricanes, have a lot of old properties, we have a lot of things that make insurance tough. You know, we have some really bad hurricanes like Hurricane Sally, Ivan, and they change the way we look at it and the way we build our houses here. I saw through a lot of the deals I was doing as a real estate agent that there were certain types of properties in certain areas that were just almost impossible to get insurance on. If they didn't have hurricane clips, a new roof, new wiring, upgraded plumbing, and things like that, they just wouldn't insure them. And for investors, it was tough, because if you're holding them in an LLC, the binding insurance was a little different than for a normal person. Short-term rentals were making insurance different too, and I think we're seeing a shift of insurance companies trying to figure out how to do premiums on that, because the through traffic creates a lot of, liability problems. So I want to be very clear that every part of the country is different. If you live in a big city, you live up north versus out west, or here on the Gulf Coast, things affect real estate differently. A lot of people say they want to throw this blanket of interest rates and this blanket of market shift. But in certain parts of the country, the market has not shifted as to what the Goldman Sachs and all these other people are saying. Here on the Gulf Coast, people are moving here to live by the beach because they can work from home, and they're escaping or they're leaving, some issue abroad. And here on the Gulf Coast, we have a massive shortage of inventory. Our inventory numbers are still down, and I'll give that to Dave Ramsey. He was right. Inventory is still down in these places. And when you factor that in with our insurance problem we have right now, we have a different set of issues that can either lead to home prices staying up, the good properties that there's not a lot wrong with them, they're up to code, versus the insurance issues that are creating deals. Properties that have an old roof, bad 4-point, they're creating deals, and people can't deal with it. They don't have the funds to fix that roof that's $10,000+. The plumbing issue that is $5,000 or $6,000. They inherited the property, and they might have a lot of equity in it. They might owe nothing, and they just want to get rid of that headache. Or they're living abroad and they don't want to come back to take care of this property. And that's when you step in, and that's what I did to step in on a property. I saw that was a deal that I could make happen and get a property that was well undervalued. It was my win. It was their win. They got rid of their problem. I got a property that I could make some money on something I was an expert in. And see, I see a few things happening here on the Gulf Coast. See, I do Pensacola, Destin, Orange Beach, those two parameters, Orange Beach to about Destin 30A. And the main thing I saw was, okay, interest rates don't look like they're slowing down the market that much, because I'm still seeing buyers come in from out of state. Like, I got a list like 30 long right now of people that can work from home while living on the beach or around the beach, and they're coming from a distance. They're replacing a lot of the buyers that are getting priced out because the market has moved so much, and the inventory has stayed down quite a bit short from what we've seen before, because it's being soaked up by these other buyers willing to just keep paying up for properties, and especially around the water, because there's only so much waterfront property. And we haven't seen a lot of builders come in and try to build, because what's really soaking it up right now, and a lot of people aren't tracking this, the builders are doing build to rent. So those properties will never go into the market for a homeowner. All the builders I know, that's their game plan. I've done 2 or 3 videos on this 6 months ago, where I talked about all this and my thought process of what it was about to do. And I told you I'd come on here and say, hey, we got to change the way we're looking at stuff, because the market's about to shift and you're going to start seeing some deals. So right now I'm seeing deals, and I'm seeing them if they have an old roof and the person can't afford the roof. They're having a hard time going to the market, because as a real estate agent, you look at it like, well, can I close this deal? And if I can't bind insurance to close the deal, or VA loan, get rid of that wood rot to close the loan, or things that appraisers are flagging, like those things make, as a real estate agent, you not be able to list the property if you really if you value your time. It's going to bounce on and off the market 3, 4, 5 times if it does sell. The comping it is totally different, because you've got so many things wrong with it. So a lot of people are throwing their hands up on these old properties. And I've said the cost of ownership on these was going to outrun the price, the value of the property. So like, let's say you live in a 1940s house by the water. Citizen says, hey, you got to have flood insurance too if you want us to give you regular insurance. And let's say you don't have hurricane clips, you don't have all these things. It makes somebody buying it with traditional financing, they're not going to be able to get insurance for it. That is not, 3 times as much as a normal house to close the deal. And then their insurance is $15,000 a year on a $250,000 house. That just doesn't make any sense. So the properties just can't be sold. I recently found a property from a wholesaler that I believe the owners were in the same situation. They were looking at insurance, had a lot of problems with getting it. It was an older house, but it was like 6 houses from the water. And I was like, there is money to be made here. I am willing to figure out the insurance problems. I knew I had to buy it cash, and I just took a shot at it. From a real estate agent point of view, I can look at a house pretty much, have the right inspections done, and pull the trigger and feel fairly confident I did well. I was driving down the road and I got a text from a wholesaler, because if you've known me over the years, I've talked about the Investors Guild, investors groups I go to, and I'm on buyers lists, and when they find these deals and they want a hot potato of property, they shoot it to me. So I got a text and I said, boom, 3-1 Navy Point. I think it was with the wholesale fee was $167,000. And I was like, whoa. And I knew the area, I knew the location, I know everything about neighborhoods. Like you got to pick a neighborhood, and you've got to become an authority on that neighborhood, and you know exactly the square footage, the price per square footage on these houses, and what could be wrong with them. Saw it and I was like, wait a minute. It's like, I think this house will comp about 270, 280 all day long, because I knew there was 4 other houses around there that sold, same thing, 3-1, same square footage, because of the water, and they were mostly being Airbnb'd now. So I was like, huh. So when I got back, I did a drive-by, because it's only like a block from my house, and I was like, huh, new roof, new AC, I can see the permits for everything else, plumbing's good, electrical's good, there was an inspector out there, I knew the inspector, told him give me a thumbs up when you think this is good. I drove up, there was like 4 other flippers sitting on the driveway, and I just pulled the trigger. Boom, I give it to him, because I knew exactly what I could get out of this house. And if anything, I knew I could Airbnb it. And it was so close to proximity of my house, working on it wasn't going to be a big deal. And I really, really want to say this. If you're going to be an investor, don't buy properties that are a long ways away from you. If you're a novice, if you're just an average investor, don't try it, because it is really hard to manage a property. This one, I'm really close. I usually, if it's more than 5 or 6 miles away from a house, I'm not doing it. And this one was right there. I knew I could Airbnb it. I checked the title. I checked the 4 points, the WDO, the whole 9 yards, and I couldn't see anything wrong with it, and I pulled the trigger. Because I knew, and what was crazy is the contract price was $145,000. I give major props to that wholesaler that got that deal under contract, because I paid a $22,000 wholesale fee. But I was fine with that because I knew the property was worth another $100,000 on top of what I was buying, because I was an authority on that property. Okay, like I knew this neighborhood, and I bought the contract from a wholesaler, which I never even knew. I never even saw the actual owners. I bought it from the wholesaler, and we walked through the process of closing this deal. You might be asking, Jack, how did you know this is a deal? And isn't the market supposed to tank and the world's going to implode? Well, if you buy a property right, and you know what that property is worth, you know the inventory that's around the neighborhood around this part of this city, and you have a feel of the market, and I have a feel that the market is not slowing down. There's very few properties that are available in Navy Point. It's right by 2 beaches, a walking park that's like 4 miles long. It's like a couple blocks from the boat ramp where you can put your boat in and be to deep water within 15 minutes. Your 30-minute boat ride from Pensacola Beach. Your vacation spot. It could be Airbnb'd. It could be flipped. It could be rented. I think I could probably get $2,000 to $2,100 for it rented, because it's by an amazing sunset. The sunsets you see in my vlogs is from right down the street from this house. The end of the road, there's a beach there. It's got everything that I know that people will want in the future, regardless of if we see a 10%, 15% pullback. Because I've said on this channel a lot, location, what are the things that people can get, and can you get that property in the future? And this is one you only get if the moon aligns. And I knew that, and I pulled the trigger. That's why I was not scared of any pullback. I don't really think we're going to see a pullback. I think the Gulf Coast, Pensacola is where it's at. And the property values are going to start to creep back up if properties are in good shape and insurance is fine. Now, am I going to flip it, or am I going to Airbnb it? I'm still kind of like this with it. If somebody offered me enough money or the right price for that property, I would let it go. But if not, I'm going to make it income producing property for me, and I'm going to vlog it here on this channel. And I wanted to say, like, why did I do that? See, I think the politicians going into election season, they are at a stalemate with inflation. Inflation is still holding strong, okay? And I feel like since interest rates did not knock it down and drive prices down 15, 20, 25%, which I think they did stagnate here on the Gulf Coast. A lot of appraisers will tell you that. But they haven't gone down as much as you would think. Like, I've gotten a lot of properties under contract, under ask, but a lot of the asks were inflated anyways. And then the appraisers are saying, yeah, we had that stagnant period maybe 2 months ago, but we're starting to see prices continually to gradually go up right now. And not a lot, but a little bit. So I think that since they haven't crushed inflation with interest rates and the cost of money, and there's so many people still coming here, and that there's this like weird 5% money cost for the Fed. Like, I think if we get over 5 and some change Fed funds rate, the ability to sell debt to other buyers, countries, is going to cost America way too much money for it to be plausible. And I think that these politicians are going to have to turn the money printer back on, bring interest rates back down, in order to not have a recession into election season. And if that is true, you're going to have to own tangible real estate and tangible properties, gold, S&P 500, to hold on to inflation constantly going up. They haven't solved that problem yet. And so with me, after I factored in how much I lost to inflation over the last year or two, I got to own something. And, you know, I told you on this channel I was going all cash a year and a half ago. And I did. Saved up all my money. Had it all cash for a deal like this. And then I jumped on it. And cash was allowed me to get a property excessively undervalued because the numbers in buying a rental property, like Flipper's numbers are 70% ARV minus some costs, you know, your renovation costs. I was at like, you know, 60%, and I just rounded off the rest of it because I was going to get a return, pretty good one. I factored in the 10% rule, and a lot of things I think would be wrong with the house I can fix myself or have fixed with a handyman. So I wasn't really worried. Between the wiring, plumbing, HVAC, roof, and, you know, some minor stuff around the house, that all passed. I was fine with that. So that's my thought process. Insurance is going to be the key to all of the real estate here on the Gulf Coast. It's key. If you can't get insurance, the show's over. And, you know, a lot of people like to say 50% of properties sold in the state of Florida are cash. 85% of those on the beach are conventional loans, are loans. And you have to be able to bind insurance to close that loan. It is just how real estate is sold. You have to be able to satisfy the bank. And as that gets tighter, and if banks get tighter with lending money, well, that could change the way we're going to price properties. Appraisers are getting more conservative. But that being said, there are so many people moving here that are willing to bridge the gap of an appraisal that we're at a stalemate. If you can get a property 75% ARV, and it needs some work, and it's failed some things for insurance on the 4-point, you can get a deal. You can get a deal. I had one the other day. The owner was ready to throw her hands up on an old roof and accept a wholesaler's offer. I mean, $100,000 under because she was scared of doing the repairs of a roof. Those deals are out there. You know, one person's problem is another man's treasure. And if you can figure out how to solve that, if you've got cash and you can solve those problems, that's the problem with dealing with the bank and using leverage. You can't get these deals. And now, will I stay in cash with it? Yeah, probably. I might refinance it. Who knows? Maybe when rates come back down in a year or two or more. I also want to get past that year capital gains, that 15% capital gains. I think that's what it is over a year. I want to get off the less than year capital gains, and the deal gets sweeter. So that's really all I got to say about that. I am buying real estate here in the Panhandle of Florida, around the water, around good things, around downtown, around areas of interest that I think that I can get the best return on. Not buying houses that are just in these areas where there's nothing's prospering and there's no real upside. Those are where you're going to find the problems with buying real estate right now. Buy good houses that you can insure, or you know you can fix it to insure. Wall-in carports and add square footage that is air conditioned, and you're going to make money in real estate. Way better than the stock market. Don't get me started on that. And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.